Throughout history, moments of bravery, strategy, and sometimes pure madness have redefined military tactics, shaped empires, and left unforgettable marks on human history. Today, we're diving into the top 10 most insane moments in military history. Unbelievable events that showcase just how extraordinary warfare can be. We're talking about battles fought against impossible odds, feats of logistical insanity, and acts of courage so profound they beggar belief. These aren't just tales from a history book, they're windows into the human condition under the most extreme pressures imaginable. So buckle up. We're about to journey through time and across battlefields, exploring the moments that defy logic, challenge our understanding of warfare, and force us to ask, how on earth did that actually happen? Let's get started. Picture this: 480 BC, the shores of Greece. The Persian Empire, a force so vast it seemed to blot out the sun, descends upon the small, fractious Greek city-states. Their objective: total conquest. Standing in their way? 300 Spartan warriors, led by King Leonidas, at a narrow pass called Thermopylae, the Hot Gates. Spartans lived and breathed war. Even knowing the Persian numbers, estimated in the hundreds of thousands, the Spartans held the pass for 3 days. The narrow terrain of Thermopylae negated the Persian numerical advantage, forcing them to funnel their troops into the teeth of the Spartan phalanx. The Spartans weren't alone, they had allies from other Greek city-states fighting alongside them. And yes, they were eventually betrayed, outflanked, and annihilated. But their sacrifice wasn't in vain. The stand at Thermopylae bought precious time for the Greek forces to regroup, leading to their ultimate victory against the Persians. Fast forward a century and a half, and we find ourselves in another seemingly unwinnable conflict. The Roman Republic, rising to power in the Mediterranean, faced their arch-nemesis Carthage. At the heart of this rivalry was Hannibal Barca. He marched his army, including war elephants, over the Alps, striking at Rome. The Alps, even today, are a formidable barrier. Yet, Hannibal persisted. When Hannibal's army emerged, they were battered but ready to unleash havoc upon Rome. Now let's jump forward to the 19th century, to the Crimean War. The year is 1854, the charge of the Light Brigade. Imagine a battlefield shrouded in smoke and confusion, the air thick with the stench of gunpowder and the screams of the wounded. Caught in the middle of this chaos is the Light Brigade, a cavalry unit of around 600 men. Due to miscommunication, the Light Brigade receives an order to charge the Russian guns head-on, a line of cannons belching fire and death. It's a suicide mission, plain and simple, but the Light Brigade, true to their training and duty, obeys the order. What follows is a scene of almost unimaginable bravery and carnage, but the outcome is never in doubt. The charge of the Light Brigade was a military blunder of epic proportions, a tragic waste of human life. A fortress of defiance. From the battlefields of the 19th century, we travel back in time to 73 AD to the arid landscape of Judea, where the Roman Empire is locked in a bitter struggle with Jewish rebels. High atop an isolated plateau, overlooking the Dead Sea, stands the fortress of Masada, the last bastion of Jewish resistance against the might of Rome. For months the Romans, led by the experienced general Flavius Silva, besieged Masada. They built a massive ramp to breach the fortress walls, a testament to their engineering prowess and their unwavering determination to crush any and all opposition. Inside Masada, nearly 1,000 Jewish rebels led by Eleazar ben Yair prepared for their final stand. They were outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and facing an enemy known for its ruthlessness. Yet the defenders of Masada chose defiance over surrender. Rather than face enslavement or death at the hands of their enemies, the Jewish rebels, in an act of unimaginable collective defiance, chose to take their own lives. The siege of Masada became a symbol of Jewish resistance against oppression. Mud, blood, and longbows. Let's fast forward to the muddy battlefields of medieval France. The year is 1415, and Europe is embroiled in the 100 Years' War. At Agincourt, a smaller English force led by King Henry V faces a larger French army. The French were confident in their numbers and superior weaponry. But the English longbow and the muddy battlefield turned the tide. The Battle of Agincourt was a turning point in medieval warfare. A Winter's Tale. Now we find ourselves thrust into the tumultuous era of Napoleon Bonaparte, a man who seemed to redefine warfare with every campaign. In 1812, at the height of his power, Napoleon embarked on what he believed would be his crowning achievement. the invasion of Russia. He envisioned a swift, decisive campaign, crushing the Russian army in a series of brilliant battles, forcing the Tsar to the negotiating table. He assembled the Grande Armée, a force over 600,000 strong, a vast multinational force that stretched for miles across the landscape. But Napoleon, for all his military genius, had underestimated two crucial factors: the vastness of Russia and the ruthlessness of the Russian winter. The Russians, rather than engaging in a decisive battle, adopted a scorched earth policy, retreating deeper and deeper into their vast territory, burning everything in their wake. The supply lines stretched thin, and hunger and disease began to gnaw at the edges of the Grande Armée. And then came the winter. The retreat from Russia was a nightmare. Napoleon's Russian campaign stands as a stark reminder of the hubris of empires. Island of Fire, Turning of the Tide. From the frozen wastelands of Russia, we jump forward to the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean in 1942. World War II is raging, and the Empire of Japan, after a string of early victories, seems unstoppable. But in the vastness of the Pacific, a clash of carriers, a battle of wits and technology, will change the course of the war. The Battle of Midway. The Japanese, seeking to cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet, planned a surprise attack on Midway Atoll, a strategically vital island. The Americans, however, had a secret weapon. Codebreakers had cracked the Japanese naval codes, giving them a crucial glimpse into their enemy's plans. The battle itself was a chaotic dance of death, a clash of titans on a vast watery stage. The turning point came when American dive bombers caught the Japanese carriers with their decks full of fueled and armed planes, turning them into floating infernos within minutes. The Battle of Midway was a decisive victory for the United States, a turning point in the Pacific War. It's a story of intelligence, courage, and a healthy dose of luck. Tunneling to freedom. Stalag Luft 3, a small prison camp in Nazi Germany. It's 1943 and the war grinds on. Inside, Allied airmen plan a mass escape. Led by Roger Bushell, they conceived a daring plan. Hundreds worked in shifts, digging tunnels. They named the tunnels Tom, Dick, and Harry. On March 24, 1944, the plan was set. 76 men crawled through Harry into the night. The Great Escape remains a testament to their spirit. The tide turns on the beaches of Normandy. The year is 1944. The world holds its breath. The fate of Europe, the outcome of World War II, hangs in the balance. On the beaches of Normandy, a storm is brewing, not of wind and rain, but of steel and fire. This is D-Day, the largest amphibious invasion in history. Imagine the scene: thousands of ships, a vast armada stretching to the horizon, bearing down on the beaches of France. The air is thick with the drone of aircraft engines, the sea churned to a froth by the churning propellers of landing craft. On board those ships, men pray, write last letters home, and steel themselves for the fight of their lives. They are facing the Atlantic Wall, Hitler's supposedly impregnable defense line. The odds are stacked against them, the beaches are mined, the defenses formidable. The D-Day landings were a triumph of planning, logistics, and sheer grit. A city of rubble, a battle for survival. Our final segment takes us to the Eastern Front, to the ruins of a city that became a byword for urban warfare, for unimaginable brutality, for the sheer will to survive. Stalingrad. It's 1942, and the German army, the Wehrmacht, is at the gates of the city that bears the name of the Soviet leader. For both sides, Stalingrad became more than just a battle. It became an obsession, a struggle for survival, a clash of ideologies. The Germans, confident in their military superiority, were determined to capture the city that bore Stalin's name. The Soviets, on the other hand, were fighting for their homeland, for their very survival. They poured everything they had into the defense of the city, turning every street, every building into a fortress. The fighting was brutal, hand to hand, a desperate struggle for every inch of ground. The Battle of Stalingrad was a turning point in World War II, a crushing defeat for the German army. It's a story of courage, sacrifice, and the horrors of war on a scale that is difficult to comprehend. From the sun-drenched shores of ancient Greece to the frozen battlefields of the Eastern Front, these 10 moments in military history, as insane as they may seem, offer a glimpse into the human capacity for courage, for ingenuity, for both breathtaking brilliance and horrifying brutality. These moments are more than just battles. They're stories of courage, tragedy, and brilliance. Each has left its mark, reminding us that history is filled with incredible, often unexpected events that continue to shape the world today. If you found these stories fascinating, subscribe for more insights into the insane, daring, and awe-inspiring moments that define military history.